Hello everybody and welcome to day 240. So today what we have is a test or an update on the overhead press isometric experiment like we did with the chin-ups yesterday, and then we have a bunch of accessory work. I decided not to do any direct posterior chain work today. It definitely hurt my soul, but that hamstring 100% is just overworked, and that's why it's shortened. I've felt this way before from doing too much sprinting and jumping volume, and I feel some of it on the right side too, so it just confirmed it's not injured, it's just overworked. So standing knee raise there, it was 11, but I only counted 10 because the other side was ugly. But again, on that right side felt super strong. Previous best was 8, did 11, but we counted as 10. So then we have our standing overhead press. Now, again, I have not done a standing overhead press in like 60 days. And for 40 days, I trained no upper body. And then the last 20 days, every other day, I've been doing 3 isometric pushes. That's all I've been doing. No tricep work. Nothing like that. So we take a test with 135 pounds. My best is from the last training cycle, 135 for 20. I'm hoping for about 10 to 12 reps. We'll play it raw and then we'll talk about it. Okay, 18 reps. I was completely in shock, in awe, and blown away by that performance. Now, it's very often in the heart of a training cycle for something very small to happen and drop 2 reps on the overhead press. Again, that 20, that's my all-time best there with 135. I'm about half a pound lighter and I'm on 2 hours of sleep. So it's expected to, having not even done the thing that you're trying to test, for the numbers to be down. Now, just alone at the peak that I was at, for not, let's just say I continued to train that whole time. Since then, it didn't take any time off. I believe I probably still would be at around 18 reps. That's doing the exercise consistently on a day how I was feeling today. Also, after taking 40 days off of all upper body work, if I went back to the same program that I was doing, 3 sets of standard dynamic exercises with the tricep training like I was doing, I still would highly doubt that I would get back to 18 reps. And also, besides that, the time it takes me to warm up and do 3 working sets to failure of overhead press is going to take me like an hour. And then throw in like the tricep work that I was doing as well. You know, you might be looking at 75 minutes to complete that. The 3 isometric presses that I do into the pen take me like 1 minute to do total. So on the back of the results from the 1-arm chin-ups yesterday, transferring over to the 2-arm, you would think, even let's say if I kept this isometric program how it is, and once a week or once every week and a half, throw in a session with full range of motion on the exercise that I'm intending to improve, you would expect, you would think, right, a bigger performance on that. Also, I started at the lightest weight that I have rep work for, because not being used to those ranges of motion, I don't want to jump straight into a 5 rep max, 3 rep max, or a 1 rep max. But that being said, you would think that the lactic acid buildup and the ability to resist that lactic acid would be even worse to do a 20 rep set when all I've been doing is pushing into the bar for 3 seconds at a time. You know, you don't want to make too many conclusions. You just want to take the experiment for what it is. But this puts more credit into my mind of the Hatfield isometrics that I've been doing, building that sumo deadlift to where it's at right now. And again, I am not recommending anything. Just take this for what it is. If you're looking at this from the outside, exactly what I do is I use, the research, the studies. I look at other people's training, and in those small slots where I find it worthwhile to experiment and expand my knowledge, and it very well could flop, or something could work out and you could keep it. Again, just take it for what it is. 40 days off, 20 days of training, very, very minimal training, and the results exceeded my expectations plus. For the overhead press specifically, only one time I trained one pin higher, but every other session I trained just off my shoulders to where the bar is not resting on my shoulders. But basically, if I was going to initiate the press, where it would come from. Now, mainly I've been using just a plate on there most days, which on this bar is 110 pounds. So, it's not that heavy to hold in your hand. But a few sessions ago, I put 150 on and just, unracking or front squatting the 150 on the axle bar and holding it in my hands. It felt heavy just holding it in my hands. But as soon as I went to the standard bar, 95 pounds felt like how 95 pounds is supposed to. I felt like I could have locked out the tricep snap a little bit quicker. But same thing with the 135. I felt like I could have moved them a little bit quicker. But they were definitely moving nice. Again, I didn't feel like the movement pattern was gone or anything. My shoulder mobility is definitely in a slightly different place than when it was. But, I don't know if the movement pattern's not gone because I've done overhead pressing for 20 years. But, again, I was expecting 10 to 12 reps. I'm going to keep doing the isometrics, continue experimenting on my own. And I know I said I was going to start the cut, but I'm not going to go crazy and start it yet because I need the hamstring to have the calories to recover and repair. And we're going to continue being on maintenance here. Hopefully in a few days it'll clear up. But like you saw, I did 2 sets for the quads, 14 and 15 reps. We bumped that up. And then we did Copenhagen adductors, or Copenhagen planks for the adductors, with the 50 pound on either side. If you've never done those before, you're definitely going to want to start with your knee instead of your ankle on there. That's a good regression. And then also, if you have issues with your knee, I wouldn't do it onto the ankle, and I definitely wouldn't weight it like that because it's going to put a lot of stress on the inside of your knee if you're not prepared for that. I probably have pretty good adductors. This is good to train the adductors with the lower leg extended, but if you're in a commercial gym, I would definitely just do the good girl machine, I guess they call it. And then it was 77 pounds for 20 reps on the tib raises. I've never done the tib raises with the bar before. I've trained them, like I said, a lot before, just higher reps, walking on my heels up and down the driveway, stuff like that, to prevent shin splints so I could get more sprinting volume. I didn't look up anyone else's form, or I don't know how other people perform that. I just wanted to get a big stretch in the front of the shin, and then fire that up. And then I started with 50 pounds first, and I felt like I could do that all day, so I just went up to 77. And then lastly, on the standing calves, my standing calves is bad always. I always find that I can train it and like double the reps very quickly, but I don't, even when I train them consistently, I don't feel like I get anything from them when I go to sprinting and jumping and things like that. And then they progress very, very slowly. And as soon as I stop training them, boom, the reps drop in half again. So I'm literally just burning calories and getting work in. I'm waiting to train my posterior chain. So that's all I got for today. Talk to you guys tomorrow.